evening, everybody. It's Steph, and I'd like to welcome you to Free Domain Radio on Sunday, I do believe. Yes, Sunday, June the 20... I want to say the 29th, but I think it's the 26th. No, the 25th. No, maybe it's the 24th. Well, the 25th? 24th. Anyway, it really doesn't matter because today it is a Sunday evening and I am podcasting from home with my lovely bride beside me as we celebrate this, our 300th episode. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 300 podcasts in a mere 4 months, and believe it or not, you didn't think I was going to get there. You didn't think I had it in me. 300 different topics, but believe it or not, I have another 300 or more perhaps topics, and I will be delivering those to you within the next few days. Anyway, yes, ladies and gentlemen, 300 topics, and we have a very special show for you in mind today. Well, we will be debating some very interesting issues, but before we get to that, I do want to send a special thank you out to everybody who has helped to make this happen. I want to thank primarily all the board members and all the people who have called in on to the radio show on Sunday afternoons, those people who have been posting some really great stuff, and for the most part agreeing with, yours truly, because there's really no other way to go once you've heard my rationale and my reasons and my explanations for things. Really, I mean, can you really argue with the things that I have to say? There have been a few people who have tried to do that, Greg, Niels, Cephas, and last but not least, Ned, who are now going to, they're going to be banned and perhaps even hunted down, because we will not have any of the disagreeing with the admin on the Free Domain Radio board. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, I do want to let you all know that I'm very pleased that we've reached the 300 mark, and also in accordance with that, I'm hugely thrilled that we have had, get this, 3 billion downloads this month. 3 billion, ladies and gentlemen, downloads of the podcasts. But oddly enough, only 35 cents in donations. I don't quite understand, I mean, 35 cents in donations in the last couple of weeks, yet 3 billion downloads this whole month. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I beg you, your money will go a long way toward, your donations rather, will go a long way towards ensuring that you get the quality podcasts that you have become accustomed to receiving, with the great detail and research and background that is so important in the theoretical perspectives and opinions that are being presented here on Free Domain Radio. So, please go to freedomainradio.com and click on the donate button. You can make an easy donation using the PayPal account, and it's all anonymous, and none of your banking information gets transferred to me, just your dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the money will be used for things like increasing the bandwidth and perhaps maybe hiring a PR firm so that we can get some more publicity and we can reach a broader audience, because after all, it is my goal and it is my hope and it is my dream to change the perspectives of the world. Not just the mere few listeners, not mere few, I mean, I don't mean to say that you guys aren't important, but it is my scope to influence the entire population with the thoughts and ideas that I have been presenting here on freedomainradio.com and through my blogs. Anyway, thank you very much again. I want to thank everybody for all their donations, and I look forward to receiving some more donations. I do need to keep the Volvomobile running. After all, it is home to Free Domain Radio, and it requires a little bit of maintenance here and there so that we can ensure sound quality is of the utmost. And anyway, once again, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for these slight tangents. I will be getting to the show perhaps now. Yes, I think now's a good time. This evening, I have a very special guest. And I'd like to introduce my guest because this individual, has done quite a bit to advance ideas on freedom, both in the personal and political spheres. And this individual has a great and vast knowledge of, politics and philosophy, history, economics, and psychology. And yet, oddly enough, does not have a job in any one of the major think tanks of the world. He's in software engineering. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you my guest for this evening, whose name, strangely enough, also happens to be Stefan. Stefan, welcome to Free Domain Radio.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you for being here this evening. And, before we get to the topic for this evening, I have a couple of questions for you regarding your the way that you podcast. It's really quite remarkable, I think, for a lot of people. First and foremost, do you ever take a breath? I mean, do you hyperventilate before you start? Do you ever pause during your podcast? Is it possible for people to find a nice place to pause so that maybe they perhaps can go and write some of the things down that you're saying so that they can argue back? Because, it's really quite difficult for the listeners when they are listening to you to grasp the ideas, because there really is no place for them to pause and stop and reflect. And it's almost like a stream of consciousness, a never-ending stream of consciousness. So what do you have to say to that?
Oh, okay.
Well, no, wait. Before you answer that question, I have a couple of other things that are somewhat related. I noticed that you podcast from your car, interestingly enough, and you're talking in an endless stream, and I just don't understand how you can drive and talk and podcast all at the same time. And I'm just curious, and I'm sure our listeners are curious. What is the ratio between podcast and pedestrian casualties?
Well, it's not that they're casualties.
Wait. There's no need for defensiveness. There's absolutely no need for defensiveness. I mean, this is a show where we value curiosity. I'm merely asking you a question, and your defensiveness suggests to me that there is some underlying psychological issues that from your childhood that you are bringing forth to bear on our conversation here. And so just because I do understand from your podcasts and from all your articles and all your threads on the board and your posts on the board that you had a pretty bad childhood. And I think our listeners are really kind of curious. Just because you had a bad childhood, why is it that everyone else has to have a bad adulthood?
Well, that's...
Why do you hate the family so much? I mean, honestly, what is your problem with the family? The family is the foundation of society, and you seem to constantly be berating the family, and honestly, you really have alienated a number of people on your stance on the family. Would you please and kindly explain that to us?
Sure. I mean, if you feel that it would be helpful, I'd be more than happy to approach.
Well, no, actually, I don't think it's going to be very helpful, because I think you've made yourself perfectly clear in the podcasts and perfectly clear to the listeners that you just really don't value the family. You think that everybody is corrupt or immoral or amoral, or even, to use the term, evil, which a lot of people have a hard time with. I mean, evil is such a really, really strong term, and yet you think of parents as quite corrupt and evil, and I think that is just really doing a disservice to a lot of our listeners, and perhaps even turning them off a little bit from all the other wonderful things that you have to say about government and politics and philosophy. So let's turn the topic over to that.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a moment?
No, actually, I'm running this show, and if you don't mind, I don't think that it's very fair to interrupt the host host of a podcast with your questions until you've been, until you've actually been asked to contribute something. And so, like I said, let's just take this, on a different direction now. Let's talk a little bit about government. You seem to be anti-state or anti-government. You don't like the idea of a state. You don't like not even a minarchist society. You're talking about no government at all. In fact, you're proposing something called DROs, which my understanding is that these DROs would replace the government. And I think there's a huge debate on the board about why wouldn't these DROs become governments in and of themselves. And so, please, I know that you've argued this point repeatedly, but please, for the sake of our audience, would you mind commenting on that again?
No, I'd be happy to. The DROs are a very interesting concept, and we do have a lot of debate about it in the board. The question is, how do you really go about replacing the government?
Well, wait a minute. You talk about replacing the government, yet you yourself, with the kind of work that you do, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm a little bit curious about this, as we were talking about just a few minutes ago. You say that you have a vast knowledge about history, politics, philosophy, economics, and psychology, and yet you work in software. Do you even indeed have the requisite experience to be posting about these things? And given that you work in software, it's come to the attention, everybody, through your own admission that you seem quite proud of selling, the software packages of your firm to government organizations. How do you live with yourself?
Well, I mean, that's a question that's come up quite a bit. And
You see, you talk about integrity. Integrity to the self, I think you said, is the foremost principle that we have to follow. If we cannot live with integrity within our own lives, how do we expect the government to act with integrity? And so you're selling your software to the government, and you talk about integrity. I see a great contradiction here.
Well, that's an interesting question, and I've certainly been asked that a number of times. The way that I view it, and I don't think it's just self-justifying.
Well, wait. Before you answer that question, I'm sorry. Before you answer that question, I noticed, just looking on the boards, that you post quite a bit during midweek days where you are supposedly at work, performing the duties of your high level position within the software company that you purport to work for. And given that you are paid by an employer, what does that say about your integrity? We seem to be having a lot of issues around integrity, Stefan, and again, given what you have been talking about in your posts and in your own podcasts, these contradictions seem to belie the question of integrity that you clearly state is integral in terms of being able to just live a happy life with freedom.
Sorry, was there a question in there? I think I just I'm
Well, there really isn't. There isn't really any room for you to comment. I think you've really quite, contradicted yourself in so many ways that there's absolutely no point in you even trying to defend that question, because all I'm going to get is that defensiveness that we talked about just a few minutes ago, which again, just to reiterate, talks about the the unfinished business that you have with respect to your childhood, and again, this whole family stuff, which we, I don't think we have really a lot of time to get into right now, but maybe that has to do with the lack of hair follicles. Do you think that contributes to an excess of words and perhaps an excess of ideas that don't make a lot of coherent sense?
Well, I
Oh, and that accent. What's up with that? Is that for attracting chicks or what? Oh, and speaking of chicks, women in politics and economics, where do you stand on that issue? Isn't your position on that just a little bit insulting to women? Haven't you postulated that women just don't think in the same ways as men do about these very important issues that affect their lives equally, if not more, Stefan, because of their contributions to the family?
I'm sorry. Again, I'm trying to track the question here, and I'm just.
Well, I may be a little bit here
monopolistic.
No. I think one of the issues that your listeners have with you is with the speed of your conversation. And I understand that people may be thinking I'm talking a little bit too quickly here, but you speak so quickly. Were you always cut off as a child? Is that the issue? Is that really what's been going on for you? Is that why you never stop to take a breath and your sentences seem to run on and they just go on forever?
Well, certainly when I was a child, I wouldn't say that I had a very open forum for the discussion of ideas. Like when you're trying to
what do you mean with like? I mean, you use a lot of ers and ums and likes and sort ofs and ums and ums and ums, and it's really quite distracting for your listener. For your listeners. Your listeners, may I make a correction?
Is that a question? Again, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to follow whether it's a question or a comment.
Well, frankly, I think at this point, we're running close to running out of time. The hour, the lateness of the hour is approaching. Approaching what I don't quite know. But I mean, you do 2 podcasts a day, and I think having you here on this show this evening, I have a question. Do you honestly feel that if someone catches up to your 2 podcasts a day, you're up to what number podcast right now? Do you actually think that maybe you're going to die?
No.
We can expect more podcasts to come from you, Stefan, on these very deep and interesting topics, debatable issues, and quite radical ideas?
I think so. I'm very keen to keep podcasting. It's a lot of fun, and we have a great community coming along at freedomainradio.com. So I am more than happy to keep podcasting.
Thank you very much. As you heard from the great man himself, he's more than happy to keep podcasting. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we will be ending our 300th or 300th episode of Free Domain Radio, podcast number 300. Please tune in for more podcasts after this, and please feel free to click on freedomainradio.com and hit the donate button, and where donations are always welcome. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk again soon. Oh, and yes, before we do go, I do want to thank our guest for this evening, Stefan, and I would like to give Stefan the last word for the evening before we sign off from our 300th episode. Stefan?
Well, thank you.
Well, you know what? We're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. We'll talk again soon.